A fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind, then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken until the final siren's gone.
How good is prelim week football, folks? What an unbelievable couple of games. Ended up being a little bit of blowouts in the end, but good footy for bulk part of both games, to be honest, which was nice. And just, look, nice that it's not us on the receiving end of any heartbreak. I'm really, really glad that I've not had to witness a prelim loss. I don't know how I would take that, to be totally honest. I don't even care who it would be against, or the circumstances surrounding it. I don't know how I would cope in that particular situation. So I'm very, very thankful that I've not had to witness anything like that myself in real life at this stage, which is good. I mean, you'd rather be there than not, of course, but yeah, would rather not have to go through that. Stephen, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Whereabouts overseas are you? Where are you tuning in from? Yeah, so who would have thought? Lions versus Cats. You've been saying it since round 20 and had a bet on it. Nice. Well, I mean, Cats versus Lions was my prediction as well. At the start of the final series, I did predict that with the Backchat Footy predictions. So it just said, even though they were facing each other in that first game, and I just kind of always felt like they were the two better teams in it, and was on the cards. And yeah, it should be a good game, actually. Oh, Copenhagen. Very nice. Very nice. Are you there on holidays or work? It was straight hell. I know. Actually, was that a prelim? Or was that semi? I can't remember. If that was a prelim and my memory is completely shot at this time of night, then yeah, I have witnessed it then, and it was hurtful. Was it a prelim? I can't remember. I tried to erase that game from my memory, as you can clearly tell. But I was there for that. That was a nasty night. I just may have completely forgotten that was a prelim final. There we go. I was there, so I was hurtful, and I've managed to suppress my feelings for however many years that's been. So that's a success in some ways. I guess that shows I can at least do that. Yeah, that was cruel. That was cruel. Lions saved for a nightmare next weekend. So the Lions were good, weren't they? I mean, they just scoring shots wise, 25 scoring shots. They were pretty good. It was looking a little bit dicey for them early with some inaccurate kicking at goal, but they just got on top in the end, didn't they? And they were just pretty powerful. Ty Gallop, of all people, I'm sure that most people wouldn't have had him for most goals for Brisbane. Just step up and get the job done. Cam Rayner bobs up and kicks too. Zach Bailey, I tell you what, I think every club would love a Zach Bailey, I reckon. I thought he had a really, really good game. I just love how he gets on the move at stoppages inside forward 50. He's so dangerous. And what he does is kind of what my vision of Seth Campbell is in the coming year. That's kind of what I want Seth to get to on a really consistent basis. And he rolls through the midfield as well. But I see Seth Campbell as our Zach Bailey. Did anyone else see that? Is that a fair and reasonable comparison, or am I a little bit off the mark there? What does everyone think of that type of comparison? Will Ashcroft, 2 goals, 20 disposals. Even Logan Morris played a good game. Hugh McCluggage, 37 touches, 10 clearances. He's had a monster couple of games in finals. That's huge numbers. 8 marks as well. Yeah, they're going well. I mean, and who would have thought after losing Joe Danaher that they'd still be, putting up some good numbers and playing in finals. So they're going to be a tough opponent. They're going for back-to-back. Like it's really hard, isn't it? Because on one hand, I'd love for no club to go back-to-back for a long time, so it adds a bit of prestige to what we did. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel about the alternate outcome. So, yeah. What's the lesser of two evils? Because I do like having that prestige just because of the sheer amount of people that try and talk down our 3 and 4 years, including a back-to-back, is honestly staggering. Trying to play it down as the easiest flags of all time, and anyone could have done it, when all that's been proven since is how hard they are to make and how hard they are to win, because some teams don't even get back to the top 8 the following year, far be it win back-to-back. So it's a little bit torn on that front. Went to the game. Oh, wow, you went Seba. Jesus. Denmark. Oh, did they? In AFL Europe or? Yeah, the 2013 Carlton loss was tough. That one always tears me too because it was such an amazing atmosphere for those who were there. Even though it was a wave of emotion going against us, it was such a really cool thing to be a part of in a weird way. The Port Adelaide loss as well was shit house too, but again, another amazing atmosphere. And the North Melbourne one was bad too. All of them are bad. If you lose in the final, they're all shit, I guess. Third straight grand final for the Lions. Second straight top. Well, yeah, and this is the other thing, isn't it, Solar? Third straight grand final, and they're going to be bolstering their side with, they're getting Draper, they're getting Oscar Allen, and they're getting a top 5 pick from an academy. I mean, and this is on the back of getting Ashcrofts 2 years in a row, one of which who won a Norm Smith, so they're pretty handy footballers. I guess when those types of things come out in the wash, that's what needs to change with the access to all these kids because the stronger teams are just getting stronger. It's quite incredible, to be honest. Roby looks good. I haven't seen the game yet today because I had my son's birthday party, but I was keeping track of the scores on my phone. But yeah, 4 goals seems all right. But interesting to hear that he played the last few games with a crack in his collarbone. So that might explain why he didn't get as many midfield minutes in the last 2 games. I mean, a lot of people are saying it was his worst Coach League game, despite the fact he kicked 4 goals, which I guess is a good thing. So hopefully he can get fixed up to the point where he can do the testing and things like that. And we can have a look and see what happens from there. Yeah, I think Seth has a similar ceiling to Zach Bailey as well. I'd love for him to get to that level. It'd be huge. Do you think Tyler Sonsie and Thompson Dow career depends on who we pick up in the draft? Thompson Dow is almost certainly. It depends on that because he's been told that it just depends on what the list looks like. Sonsie, I think we'd make a call on beforehand. I wouldn't be surprised if we kept Sonsie, like preemptively beforehand, say, yep, sign up. And Dow will just depend on what happens. And I'm guessing the Dow part is more in relation to if we end up splitting picks on the night and putting in an extra youngster, what happens with Callaway. There's a few little bits and pieces that have to play out, I suppose, which is really harsh for the kid, but it's a business as well, I suppose. Jamie Elliott. Now, I tell you what, Starcevic, in my opinion, executed that spoil perfectly. He had eyes for the ball the entire time, did not look at Jamie Elliott once, jumped up and spoiled the ball. Yeah, he made body contact, but if you've got eyes for the footy, you're allowed to make incidental body contact as long as you're going for the ball. Didn't hit him high. I thought it was a perfectly executed spoil from Starcevic that quite possibly saved the game from a momentum perspective because that would have really got him up and about had he marked that and then might have been on the charge a little bit. I reckon it was a brilliant spoil. Amazing effort. Brisbane to win. Tigers to knock off them, so we get up there. It's always interesting to sit there when you're watching these prelims and you have to wonder, like, how would our 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 team, how would that team stacked up against these teams in the last couple of nights? I know we'll never know the actual answer. I reckon it would have gone okay. Final show, how relevant rucks are. Maybe not even finals, like just footy in general in some ways. Like if you consider that the 2 best ruckmen in the competition are probably Max Gawn and Tristan Sherry, North Melbourne finished 3rd last and Melbourne finished somewhere not far above. So how important are they? I mean, it is probably more important that they're mobile around the ground. I think you'd love to be able to get first use of the ball, and that's something we haven't had for the entirety of Nank's career at Richmond. We've not had first use of the ball. So that's where your advantage is, I guess. But you don't need to be an A+ ruckman to be able to do that. You just need to be tall. And if you can do the basic fundamentals and get the right body position and have some ruck craft about you, you should be able to get your team first use of the footy on a semi-frequent basis, which, will definitely help in, being able to get first use of the ball. Yeah, the Cats are looking good, aren't they? Look, Hawthorn started the game really well. Mitch Lewis was on fire early. And then when Stewart went down, and who's the other guy? The other defender whose name escapes me. Henry's a Jack Henry. When he went down, I can't believe he come back on. To be honest, he looked like the structure in his foot had completely gone with the way he collapsed. So no doubt they jabbed him up and sent him back out there. But look, they've had a bit more of a rest. And I guess tonight's game, both teams are kind of beating up on each other a little bit. So it was pretty relentless for 3.5 quarters. And yeah, there's going to be some big decisions for Brisbane next week. I mean, Lachie Neale's apparently declared himself fit to play. That's a huge risk or gamble for Fagan to have to make a call on. Berry has apparently said he'll be right to play despite going off with that bung shoulder. I mean, we all know from our perspective that Jack Graham did his shoulder against Geelong and went out there and fought, and he shouldn't have, but he did, and it really helped us get over the line, but he missed out on a grand final as well. So, yeah, there's some big calls coming out of Brisbane in relation to Berry and Lachie Neale in particular. And then, yeah, for the Cats, I'm not sure who comes in for Tom Stewart. It's a big out for them. It's a very big out. But and like Hawthorn were actually playing it really well with their short kicking game. They're actually kind of picking them apart. But, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the Cats do. Can't wait for November so we can put Roby in a Tigers jumper. I feel like there's a lot of people converted into Sullivan Roby. A lot of people. I don't have any doozy updates, no. Tiggs will be jumping on for a live on Tuesday nights. Obviously, Uze came out and mentioned that we're looking to hit the draft, and I was just talking to Tiggs about that the other day, and he's like, he's right, but to a point. And I guess there's some caveats in there that can maybe alter that. And my feeling is that comes down to whether it's a pick split that might do something there. But it seems like the 2026 free agency is, and I think we've earmarked that for a little while with the quality of players coming through, is where it will be at, which will be good if we can land a few. Was Seth Campbell our highest rated player? I think Nankervis was. Jones Racing will know the answer to this and be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a funny feeling that Nankervis was our highest rated player on average for the year. I don't know why his name sprung to my head. I could have sworn I read the stat a little while ago, but I'm sure Jones Racing will know the answer to this. There's plenty of moments, isn't there, Christian, in every game? It's spot on. Whilst that is one important moment, there was plenty of other things they could have done differently, no doubt. And especially while Brisbane weren't putting the scoreboard pressure on, they definitely had chances to get themselves back into the game, and they just didn't take it. Yeah, I agree. I thought his eyes were on the ball, fixed on the ball. Like he didn't even do a look up and a look up. He just straight on the ball, and I think that was the important part. How's that? One of Cumming, Lindsay, and then Arabi would be nice if we only have the two selections. So, yeah. I keep getting smashed for talking about Lindsay for some reason. There seems to be a lot of hate for the kid. Not hate's probably the wrong word, but people don't rate him or they reckon he slipped substantially. I still think he's a top 10 pick, top 10 in the open draft. But I mean, look, I've watched, as the days and weeks go on, I keep watching more and more videos of different players, right? And then that forces my opinions to change and I get confused. So tomorrow there's a video coming out where I'm even discussing the concept of taking, depending on what happens with the compo pick and depending what happens with West Coast, discussing the possibility of taking Sharp and Cumming, going the South Australian duo with picks 3 and 4 on the assumption that West Coast takes CDT and Dersma, or if they only have the one pick. And I know a lot of people, me included, had sort of said previously about Sharp that maybe he doesn't fit us. But I think after watching a few of his highlights again over the last couple of days, I sort of had a bit of a realization that maybe I was against him because I can't see him fitting for them now. But in 4 or 5 years' time, when like your Prestias, Taranto, Hoppers, when they've sort of gone or moved into other positions, a midfield of Lawler, Sharp, Smiley, Houghton, Cumming, I think it can work really well. Like Sharp's a really good extractor of the ball, getting the hands out, and he can release someone like Lawler a lot into space or Houghton into space, whilst also being able to do it himself and being able to go forward too. So I think I'm kind of doing a little bit of a mini backflip on my sharp stance. I think it might not be as bad of a pick as I first thought if we were to take him, if he's still there. But from a 3 to 4 year in advanced Richmond. But keen to hear everyone's thoughts on that. I might get shot down for that too. And this is the thing, right? Like, I know not just me, but a lot of people will be putting out a whole range of different videos about draftees, options their club could take that will have a host of different players. And I don't want people to get confused or think, oh, they're just changing their mind and just having a bet each way. It's not really that. It's just there's so much to discuss. There's so many different variables and possibilities that it's just good to discuss all of them, get everyone's thoughts, because everyone's got differing views on how this will play out. It's really fascinating. Caleb Smith is not contracted, no. His kicking is good. I think the problem he's got, Paulie, is the position he's playing in is we're kind of covered at the moment from a halfback perspective. But I know you've just mentioned on a wing. Maybe. I don't think his skills are that bad. It's just he hasn't been able to get the most of opportunities, has he? It's a tough one. Bird Dog, you're on the Roby bandwagon. Not bandwagon, but Roby. We'll call it a Roby train. A Roby train. He's going to be fascinating to see. Like, can he go top 5 now? Has he done enough to go top 5, or do we need to see some combine testing to make that call? And then who's going to blink first with taking him? Like, he could end up being a Bont or Cripps-sized midfielder. But then we have a Smiley as well. But can they coexist? I don't know. I don't know. No, I think that's pretty clear-cut nuclear days. I don't think there's any way around that. But look, on that, and I in some ways I feel bad for Chris Scott here. Now, hear me out. I don't always defend Geelong, but this point of conversation has come up for a long time. And now if he's going to get asked about it in these press conferences, he's going to answer the questions that are being asked, and then he's going to get slapped for it, which I don't think is fair. So people are going to ask him, should the grand final have the week off beforehand? And he's going to, of course, say yes. Then the narrative will be about how he wants to change it to get Stewart. Like, of course he does, right? But the reality is it's been a conversational point for a while. And we even said on our Wednesday night show with Pommy, Fiona and Marnie that I reckon the bye's in the wrong spot as well. I actually do think the bye should be the week before the grand final for examples exactly like this, where it gives the best players, despite what we all think about Tom Stewart, it gives all the players a chance to recover and play in the grand final. And I do think they should shift it, but that's just me. I'm sure there's a lot of different views out there on that. That's a good point too, Christian. They look solid tonight, didn't they? Really. I mean, McCluggage and they have stepped up big time. All good, Hawk Team. How are you, buddy? What's happening? Lockie, Roby-1 Kenobi. Very good. Very good. That is straight onto a thumbnail when he gets drafted. Roby-1 Kenobi. I like it. I like it. Would Taranto or Hopper get a game for any top 8 team? I think they categorically would, yeah. Would they both get a game in the same side? Maybe that's a different question to answer. But I think as much as we get frustrated with their performances at times as a collective midfield unit, I think as individuals, they both had really, really good years, and I think they would find game time in top 8 sides, yeah. Haven't heard anything else on Roses Jr. I guess the latest was that he's officially said he's leaving, but still making his mind up between Sydney and Richmond. A lot of people have said that that there's apparently a job offer going for his partner in Sydney or something or other that might sway his decision. So whatever happens. Yeah, I still think he'll get more opportunity here, but I'm maybe being biased as well. Yeah, I agree, Rod. And for me, the key to it was the eyes. Eyes locked on the footy, and he hit the ball, right? You're allowed to make body contact if you are spoiling the ball and it's incidental. I thought it was perfect from him. Perfect. What do I think Young is worth if he leaves? The range of draft picks. Yeah, I know. And like we had heard, and I got criticized for this, but I was simply passing on what I was told. Whether it be true or not, I don't know. That the Bulldogs may have been prepared to contemplate use of their first pick. I don't know whether that would mean us trading back something else as well. Whether that was even fully true, I don't know. It's just what I had heard from someone who is reliable, so I passed it on. What you have to remember is I think where people get a little bit lost and confused in this is people try and value Young based on what we think of him and how he fits in at our club. But you got to think about from let's say the Bulldogs, from their perspective, they've got every other part of the ground pretty much locked down and they're flying. Like, I know they missed finals, but they could have quite easily been in the top 6, top 4. They need that key defensive post sorted ASAP while they're in their window of opportunity to play more finals and hopefully go into a prelim or a grand final. So for them, the value of Tyler Young is a lot higher than what it would be for other clubs. And they may not view the value of pick 10, which might end up being pick 16 by the time it gets around, as much as what other clubs would. And I think that's just the tangible that it's hard to get a gauge on. I mean, West Coast is the other one. They might get an assistance pick. They've got a trade. I don't know. They've picked 19 as well or something like that. They were the other one who had posed an offer. But my gut feel is that he's gone at the moment. I just think that if he was staying, it would have already been sorted by now, given we'd already put the contract in front of him, unless he's waiting to see if we revise what we had offered. Because I had heard that his preference would be to stay if we match the biggest contract on offer. And as I've said, I think this is more to do with the length of the contract, not the money. Like, we know we're flush for cash. We need to spend it in the right spots, but I have a feeling that a West Coast or a Bulldogs might be offering, let's say, 3 or 4 years, and we might be offering 2. And I reckon that could be the sticking point. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like, you'd love to get a late first rounder. I mean, that would be optimum, but reality probably says it's going to be a second rounder. And I don't know. What do you do with a second rounder in this type of draft? I'm not sure. Is it the ticket for Louis Callaway? There's, some speculation we might not even need to pick for Louis Callaway. We might just need a list spot depending on where he goes too. Rate Greaves highly. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see his game today, but I saw his game last week and it was really good. I think there'll be a few people looking at Ollie Greaves. I guess but the question's always been the explosiveness side of things. But he's clearly a talented player and he can get the footy. Well, we do need a Vlosten replacement. The problem is, I mean, Vlosten's probably got 3 years left. So in terms of like a handover, it might not be so bad. Luke Trainer's down there as well. Gibcus, Banks, but Broad's about to retire. So we probably could use someone like a Xavier Taylor. I just don't know if it would be too big of a reach to go at 3 or 4. I know he had a really good game today from what I was reading. But yeah, would we go that high with him? And this is where, games like today in that grand final, I think is what justifies, in my mind anyway, why splitting a pick could be valuable in this draft. Because you split a pick and you still might get access to a Cumming, a Roby, a Taylor, a Farrow, a Hibbins-Hargreaves, a Doveston, so many players that are probably going to not get picked up in that top 8, 9, or 10 that could still be there with a split pick, and then you get 2 for the price of 1. When you see those things happen, it just seems to make more and more sense. But I do also get the view that people don't want to split picks when you've got 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. I definitely wouldn't get rid of the highest pick that we've got. But the second one, I think we should absolutely be listening for sure. Hawk, Timmy on Cumming and Roby. Wouldn't be the worst. Christian wants the Eastern Rangers duo. They've got some good plays, don't they? Based on form and just the talent they've got, they thoroughly deserve that grand final win. Watching Max Holmes burn opponents. I know, he's so quick. Even when they played us, I reckon he must have had about 8 or 9 bounces against us. It was quite remarkable, but he's a good player. He's a very good player. Sullivan Roby, no matter what. There'll be bloody banners and signs being made up, picketing outside Punt Road shortly to get Sullivan Roby. We need to target A-grade experienced midfielder. Yeah, spot on. And I've seen a lot of frustration comments from people saying, oh, why are we no longer getting players and trading and free agents and stuff like that? I get the frustration, but what I'll say is I think Blair is very, very targeted and specific in what he does. And it seems like it was very deliberate and specific for us to go to the draft heavy this year and next year based on the clean out and rebuild, and maybe based on what players are available too. And I won't be shocked if we land some free agents next year. I think we're going to go all out. So you get another full year into these youngsters, and then you hit 2027 with a few more additional players. So we'll be keeping an eye on who signs and who doesn't sign throughout 2026, no doubt. Yeah, that's it. It's fun to play the hypothetical games, but it will be good to know once it's all locked in with all the bloody compo picks and shit like that. That will be nice. I actually believe out of the Melbourne Big Four, we're in the best place going forward. So we did nail and develop the gifted Cubs. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? It doesn't matter what draft picks you have. If you don't nail the development side of things, it's all for nothing. And I think we've got a reasonably good developmental program currently. I think a lot of clubs do. So yeah, and look, from what we've seen so far, the players we drafted last year seem to be tracking pretty okay. And I know that normally you would say you strike out on at least 2 or 3 of those picks, but it's hard to see that currently. I really do think we might have hit gold on at least 7 of them. We've still got the unknown in Smiley. Maybe Elgar's a bit more of an unknown as well. He shows a lot of potential though. I think we've done okay, and if we can nail it again this year, then yeah, we'll be on our merry way. Hopefully, he is pretty good, Simon. He is very dangerous up forward as well. Finds the ball. He doesn't have that explosive speed that some people desperately crave and want, but neither do a lot of our other players either. And I guess that's probably why some people don't link him to us, because we want that explosive speed. But yeah, it's a doozy. Transition midfielders, Sharps inside beast. I know, but we have that position covered for now. What about in 3 or 4 years' time when some of those players leave? I think he then helps fill that void and could form part of the midfield group. It's one of the. I think this draft in particular, this draft for me is going to be about projection and what it looks like in 3 or 4 years' time, not so much what it can do for us next year. I don't know whether the club will feel or look at it the same way, but I just think that it's something we've got to consider is what it looks like in the future when some of these other players have left and all those spots open up and we've got to fill some voids. Who are the wingers in the draft? How many rookie picks we have? We have actually gone right with rookies, haven't we? I'm actually not sure how many rookie picks we'll have, but you're right. We've had some ripper rookie picks over the journey. Maybe we just stick to that. The wingers in the draft, I mean, Hibbins Hargrave can play on a wing, but again, he's probably one that you would pick if you were to split a pick. I don't think you would go with you wouldn't go with a pick 3 or 4 on Hibbins Hargrave. Cumming could probably play on a wing. Dersma can play on a wing, but he's obviously going to go most likely number 1 or 2 to West Coast. And this is why if they don't take him, he could become appealing. Dersma, I'm talking about. If he somehow gets to our pick, I think we would have to take him because he could fill a good wing spot for us. Who else could play a wing? There's a couple of the SA boys that I'll have to try and find some data, but yeah, I don't know whether there's a really traditional wingman. Louis Callaway can play on the wing as well, to be honest. Roby could play the wing. Yeah, he definitely could. And like you look at Adelaide, I reckon that Dan Curtin is kind of now your prototype wingman. And Smiley could do it potentially. Roby could be another one if we were to pick him up. And I mentioned today on my video that I had Hugo Relsmith and Juddy Clark as my wingman for our best 22 under 26 side. And look, Hugo, I'm not fully sold on, but I think for the now, he plays that role. And Juddy Clark obviously has a long way to go coming back from his injuries, but I do think he's probably the most skilled player, maybe at the club. In the top 5 anyway, I would say. It's just getting him on the park and getting him out there and getting the recovery right. We may have to trade back 1 pick to gain multiple. Well, see, the Callaway is a bit of, it just depends, doesn't it? Because if he goes past pick 45 or 50 or something like that, then all we need is a list spot. We don't actually need an actual pick to get him. I've always said for a long time that I thought he would go in the 30s and 40s. Callaway has had an ultra consistent season for Sturt. And I know people will say, yeah, but it's only under 18s and it's not as good as Coates League. And some of that's true. I've seen a lot of people say that he didn't make it into senior football this year. He didn't, but you need to remember that Sturt seniors were undefeated for the whole season without many injuries going on whatsoever. They were flying. So no one was breaking into that team at all. So I don't hold that against him, but he's been ultra consistent and his champs were ultra consistent too. And he was really good. So Will he play an AFL role next year if we take him? If circumstances arise, I think he might, but I do see him developing a little bit in the VFL first. Can play halfback, can play wing. He could play in the midfield long term. I think I would see him playing VFL minutes in the midfield at various times because of his defensive mindset, his ability to extract the ball and get a clearance, I think is really good. So we just haven't heard if he's officially nominating us and if we're taking him yet, though. So there's probably that part to play out as well, which would be interesting too. Hope so, hey, mate, what's going on? Yeah, do we need to draft another halfback? So, yeah, Callaway can play that position. My only thing on Callaway is he won't be as damaging off halfback as let's say what a Lindsay would be like, or a Sam Banks, what we currently got. I don't think he's as daring or has as much penetration in his kicks, but he's very dependable and reliable. Like, he's very good at getting back and defensively covering players and picking the right options. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where we'll play him, but he can play a wide range of roles. So that's definitely a good thing. Toronto need to be benched to make way for future players. Look, I don't think they'll be benched. I think it's going to be fascinating, isn't it, to see what we do here. I think there needs to be a bit of a passing of the guard at some point where Taranto and Hopper, we've said it for a while, I do think they need to split their time between half forward and midfield at some stage. And honestly, we may not see it at the start of the year. It probably depends on how pre-season goes. And I'm guessing we're going to all be impatient as supporters, me included. But let's say by the midway part of the season, I think there has to be a shift in the percentages of centre backs attendances, where they play half forward, rotate. I don't know. We have to find a way to bolster up these midfield minutes. And it's something hopefully we can find a bit more out about as pre-season rolls on, fingers crossed. Yeah, Mitch Marsh, I've seen him mentioned as a wingman as well. The other one is Filippo, who's a bit of a wild card, athletically a beast, very gifted there. Football ceiling a little bit unknown. So he'd be another one that could be a wild card to get with a split pick. G'day, Paul. I missed it as well. I was keeping track of the stats and just reading comments. So Roby kicked 4 goals, played forward for bulk of the game. And it's actually come out afterwards that he's had a cracked collarbone for the last, 3 weeks or whatever it might be. So he didn't get as many midfield minutes as he would usually get, but he still kicked 4 goals. Dolson kicked a couple and did really well. Greaves, I think, got a bit of the ball. Xavier Taylor was really good from what I saw of the stats and the reports. But, yeah, I'm hoping to try and rewatch that over the coming days, to be honest. Captain, away, mates. Love the draft video. Thank you. Thank you. I reckon we want Sydney to get Curnow. That way we could trade pick for the Sydney and TDK pick. We could take Roby and Doveston. Yeah, Doveston's an interesting one. He's an interesting one. How does he go fitting in ahead of your Steely Greens, Morris Jr., Mansell, Seth Campbell, Jasper Algar? Like, I'm not at all saying that he's the same player as what Razzo is. I have to think of the name then. But they play a similar position, and I think we all established we couldn't fit Razzo in because he wouldn't get much game time ahead of him. So I just wonder how he would fit into our side. But he can play, though. It's a really... Yeah, I get the point, though. I get the point. And I'm with you, John. And I know people laughed at me when it was suggested. And I think in a normal circumstance, I would agree. But they need him or a player like him desperately. Like, we've seen the amount of money they were offering Cal Wilkie. Ridiculous amount. That shows how much they need to fill that spot. So the value for them getting a key position defender in is far greater than pick 13 because they're in the window now. So that's why I think it's not out of the realms for them to do it. Thank you for CB. Hope we get coming in Roby. Somehow Doveston. Eastern Range getting a lot of love. Yeah, cracked shoulder. It's crazy, isn't it, that he was able to play through that? I mean, credit to him. Hopefully he recovers okay and can do the combine all okay. Yeah, have Fred. Yep. Especially he's like the games in the Australian team. He's good. He can kick a ball. My only worry with him is the last month of this coach season, he really kind of fell away a bit. And then he was tried on the wing, and I just didn't think he adapted well. And I guess there's a little bit of question marks on his actual defensive work. Like his offensive kicking work's really good. A lot of those kicks do come from kick-outs as well, but he can slice and dice teams open with his precision passing. So it's just weighing up to all of those things that he can do well. The kicking outweigh some of the deficiencies he's got to work on. I don't know. And maybe that's why he will slip a little bit. But there are also the same reasons why he might get taken high, because he can't kick the footy. But maybe someone like Xavier Taylor could kick the ball equally as well and do a lot of other things at a better level, and maybe he surpasses him. There's so many different options. What? Jack Ross at half forward or on the wing? Definitely not the wing. I mean, in a lot of ways, definitely not half forward either. But if I had to pick one, I'm picking half forward. But I don't say that with a lot of confidence, Hawked him, to be totally honest with you. Oscar Taylor, better selection than Lindsay. What happened to Fred Rodriguez? Yeah, he was way up in the draft order, way up for a lot of people, and has slipped from a lot of people's mocks and power rankings and everything like that. I even saw someone speculating he could be in the second round, which, I mean, I think that would be a way too big of a fall. Yeah, look, I don't know. I didn't watch many of the Waffle games, mainly just the champs games the WA played. He still looked like reasonably good at the level. I just don't know if he had a bad back half of the year in the rest of the Waffle. Someone else might know in chat potentially. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. For a long time, he was, we're talking top 5 calculations, wasn't he? So yeah, it is interesting. Draft speed. I mean, there's an element of that, Barry. I'd also say that we have the speed already within our current side. We just don't play him in the right spot. So Taj Houghton, Seth Campbell, they've both got speed and they can run through the midfield. Kane McCallum's got some toe. He obviously was out injured. I think we've got ways we can mitigate the speed regardless of who we draft this year, but I still agree that you want some fleet-footed players. And that's why I like the idea of Sam Cumming from South Australia, because he's got a bit of speed. I know Sam Grill has been on people's radar as well. Again, he's just another one that I'm not totally sure if taking him at pick 2 or 3 or 3 and 4 is a reach. Could we still get Sam Grill if we split one of the picks? That's what we have to, I suppose, weigh up. Our picks will be 7 and 8 after Ewan Patterson Annabelle can avoid the curse pick 6. Here's a question. I read somewhere the other day that if it's all hypothetical, if Gold Coast they're going after Charlie Curnow apparently, if they were to get him and then they want to try and get a pick in ahead of some other players and all that kind of stuff, it sounds like there might be a world in which they may not end up with enough currency to be able to bid on all of their available players. People out there who are smarter than me with draft stuff, if they get Curnow and have to pay a price to get him, is there a world in which Ewlands and all that kind of stuff, Pattersons or whatever, that one of them could fall to us because we can bid and they won't be able to match both? Is that something that's possible? I haven't played out the full mathematical scenario. It was just something I read in passing and it caught my eye as something to look into. But it will be interesting to know if they do get Curnow and what they cough up, it could allow us and or West Coast to swoop in on someone, which would be interesting. A club still have access. Yep. So this year is not affected, Frederick, for the NGA access. It's all still as per normal. It's next year that they're looking to calm it down a little bit. I tell you what, Lockie, I'm not sure if it was in jest or seriousness, but it's legitimately a possibility. The only thing I'll say is Shifter Sheen and Brad Johnson, who was on the panel, I don't know if he was on there last year or the year before, they hate us. But if you really, Taj Houghton should be well up there in the rising star. Josh Smiley, we would obviously, camera went blurry. Josh Smiley, we would like to hope is going to be up there for the rising star. Who else have we got that qualifies? Lawler won't qualify. Trainer won't qualify. I don't think Jonty or Sims will. Jasper Elgar might qualify if he plays more games. But you would think at a minimum that Taj Houghton and Josh Smiley should be up and about for the rising star. 100% Vince. He's one of the youngest in the draft crop. Very, very young. That's why it was so impressive how he plays. That's why I get around him. Damien's all over Roby. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? And like, I do get the trepidation in drafting SA boys, but again, you got to back yourself to provide a good environment for these kids, I guess. Harley Barker, that's the one. Harley Barker. Yeah, and Matt Leray. They're the other ones who can play wing. Thank you, Damien. The names escape me. Yeah, he did mention that. And I don't know. Compliment what we have, I'm not sure. Sure, I mean, that just really means pace and anyone who can kick a footy, I guess, doesn't it? There we go. Thank you. We've got a lot of Matt Lerays and Barkers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it does sound like that Dersma will be 1 or 2. Cal Toomey, I think. Toomey had Dersma and CDT going to West Coast at 1 and 2. I think it was them two. So that would leave CDT or Sharp on the table for us. If they were the two options, I'd probably almost rather go Sharp. And this is where it's tough. Like, we have too many of them now, but we're going to lose a few in a couple of years. So we need to replenish. And instead of replenishing in 2 or 3 years, if we have them now and they're ready to go with a bit more experience by then, maybe the overlap's not so bad. I know for the now it's going to be difficult, but I think for the 3 or 4 years' time, it might be okay. That's where it's really tricky. He could play wing, but the game footage suggests he didn't adapt overly well to the wing. From the games I saw, maybe there was other games where he did. So I'm definitely not saying that he didn't play well on the wing at some stage, but the ones I saw, I don't think he adapted well. If he did, I think he would have shot up the order and cemented himself up there even more. But yeah, with his kicking and stuff, I can understand it for sure. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some moving and shaking over this year and next year. Lindsay, someone with one weapon can play wing at Essendon. I tell you what, if we did a poll, how's that? I reckon it would be overwhelmingly yes for Roby. I agree, Roman. That's why the injury team is so sad. And look, I know history probably suggests that players with 3 ACLs don't come back too all that often, but I would also like to know how many of those players who maybe didn't come back were all as young as Juddy is by the time the third one happens. Like, I feel like that when you do your third ACL, typically speaking, you're a little bit further on in your career, a bit older, so it's a lot more difficult to come back, whereas Juddy does have age on his side, and I'm backing him in. And it could be some blind faith and a lot of hope, and maybe it is, but he is a beautiful kicker of the football, and if he can get right, I think he fills a role for us on the wing, absolutely. Yeah, so I can't see a world in how he ends up being a rookie pick. Like, he's been one of their best midfielders for the whole year, and I think outperformed a lot of other mids from a lot of different leagues for a lot of the year. It staggers me. Like, I suppose it's because he doesn't have one super elite quality, but he does so many other things very well. And in some ways, it might go against him, weirdly enough. I mean, we'll take him for free. Don't get me wrong. I'm not begrudging that for a second. Yeah, possibly. And this is why it's interesting to see what pick we do get for Tyler Young if he does leave. It could play a big part in this year's draft. I mean, can we pick up Scott? Not as it stands right now from a draft perspective, because we've only got the 2 picks. If it goes to a rookie or a preseason draft, maybe we get access. It depends on the list spot, but I would brace ourselves to not have him. It would be my thing to do. Tabo's all in as well on Roby. Love it. I've no further news on Hollands. Yeah, the last I heard was that he had started to clean his act up 3 or 4 months ago when Carlton had spoken to him and said, "You're out the door," and just that we had low-level conversations. That was about it. So I'm not sure what's progressed from there. If anything's progressed at all, So yeah, I'm not too sure. But I mean, based on what Uze has said about hitting the draft, it seems like it's a no anyway, doesn't it? He sort of answered it. Dogs are big time after Jordan Butts from Adelaide. They're keen as for a defender. They are really keen. Not a bad shout, Rod. We could sweeten the Young trade by paying 100k of Young's contracts for the first 2 seasons. Can you? But he's out of contract now for us. Does that work? Can we do that? I don't know. Hoops are starting to want Roby and Cumming a lot more. Cumming will be a good get if we can get him. He'll be okay. He'll be very much okay. Prefer Jack Ross in the reserves. Take Roby pick 2 and split the pick and get Cumming and Grill. That'd be a good outcome, wouldn't it? If you could take Roby. I mean, pick 2 does feel quite high for him, to be honest, depending on his combine stuff. But even then, it probably still feels too high. Split picks and get Cumming and Grill. So the problem that we're going to have, though, is that we're almost going to be forced to take him with one of those picks because I can't see him getting past Essendon's 3 picks. When I say 3 picks, because I think they'll get the first round compo for Draper, and they've got 2 of their own. So I feel like if we want Roby, it does feel like we'll have to take him with one of our first 2 picks because I just cannot see him getting past Essendon's 3. Unfortunately. Thank you for the like, lettuce. 27 likes are up to. We've got 100 in chat. Let's see if we can get it closer to 70 or 80 likes. You're all legends. Kerno's going to Geelong or staying. How are they able to afford all this? Does my head in. No, you don't reckon they'll get Charlie? We'll have to see. Either way, I feel like that Charlie Curnow is almost at the Zach Merritt point of no return. Not as bad as Zach Merritt's been, but shopping himself around a bit too much that it feels like it's improbable for him to go back into Carlton, doesn't it? Just feels a bit out of reach. Suns can go into deficit, but I think they can only go into deficit for an equal value of a first-round pick. Is that right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Greg's told the West Coast heavily into CDT. I've heard a lot of mixed reports on that. I've heard that too, but then, I mean, there's been West Coast people saying that they aren't, but I don't know. I think even Toomey thinks they are as well. So, in a lot of ways, Duff Tytler is, wherever Duff Tytler goes, is going to dictate how the rest of the draft happens. It kind of all centralizes around him, doesn't it? In a weird and bizarre way. Would you trade pick 2 to the Bombers so they can get Duff Tytler and we get 6 and 7? If they wanted to do that, I would do that, 100%. I don't think they would do that, but if they're happy to do 2 for 6 and 7, so we have 3, 6, 7. I would do that absolutely. I'm just not sure they would. Yeah, Melbourne Ken and Roby did see that. Yeah, stay away from him. Stay away, everybody. Roby coming, any other kids staying fit, 2029 flag. Well, and that's the other thing, isn't it, Tony? I mean, how high do we think Cummings is going to go? Yeah. Like, we're going to have to try and anticipate who Essendon will take with their 3 picks, and then whatever happens after there, wherever the split pick might land. It's a risk. And this is why it would be fascinating to be a fly on the wall when the Richmond recruiting staff go through all of their mock draft scenarios and try and work out what could this look like, what does that look like. It would be utterly fascinating to watch. But it's fun to play those hypotheticals out with all of you guys. I think it's good fun to see what it all looks like. But I wouldn't mind getting a hold of Cumming. And so I think ultimately, Tony, I think you're right. It does feel like if you want Cumming and Roby, it feels like we have to take him with those 2 picks that we've already got. If you're happy to get Grill, Hibbins Hargreaves, Dobberston, Farrow, maybe Lindsay falls a bit further, I don't know, then they're the kind of players you might be looking at with a split pick. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what we do in that space. Charlie will be wearing red and white next year. They're into the Swannies. What picks do they have? What do they got currency-wise? Are they giving up players? Or are they giving up? Are they giving up picks? Let's have a look. What do we want? Draft picks. Draft picks 2025. So Sydney have picks 9, 27, 45, and 63. So you would have to say straight off the bat, I don't think Carlton will accept just pick 9. Maybe it's 9 in a future first. Does that get the job done? Yeah, I don't know. So then Carlton, so if that happens, that would get Carlton back into the first round with a Sydney pick and what likely would be a round 1 compo for Taconi. So they could end up with 2 first rounders as well. And then they might need to offload some of those to get ahead of the Harry Dean bidding too. So maybe they could be one to target potentially if Charlie Curnow ends up with Sydney and if pick 9 is involved. It's interesting. Charlie wants to live on the coast, so Geelong or Gold Coast. See, it's just interesting how we all get different news and vibes on players like that, isn't it? It's interesting. So what did Geelong have? So Geelong have got pick 18, 36, 54, 72. So, I mean, really, none of that's going to cut it to get Charlie Curnow. And even their future first for next year could still be 17, 18. And the year after is going to be Tassie impacted. So I can't see a world in which Carlton accept the trade from Geelong for Charlie Curnow based on what they have available currently and based on what their anticipated futures would be. I just can't see how it works unless they're trading a good player as well to get other picks in, of course, that we don't know about. I just don't see how it's possible. Gold Coast have obviously got pick 6, 13, 16. So that's a good starting point for some currency for Charlie Curnow if they were wanting to do something. I guess Gold Coast would have the flexibility to bundle some of those up to someone else higher like us to get a higher pick to then use for the Curnow along with something else. And Hawthorn could do that too in their quest for Zach Merritt. But it does just feel like that we could be a bit of a broker in a lot of different deals for other clubs. So maybe our picks 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, maybe they're super valuable as they might help unlock a few deals. When you think about Curnow and Merritt wanting to leave their clubs and they're contracted, maybe we can play a part in that and be the beneficiaries, which would be good. What's the bet? Blair's taking 0 phone calls at the moment just to make people sweat like he did last year. No, I haven't heard anything about Hinkley. I mean, my initial thought all along, Paul, with Hinkley, for me, it made the most sense for Carlton. It was purely just because of the existing relationship with Voss, and that was all the logic was. So that doesn't really mean anything, I guess. But then you hear speculation that Hawthorn could be interested because the longer play is that Butters has a good relationship with Hinkley. So are you a better chance to get Zach Butters next year if you've got Ken Hinkley at your club? And it's probably something that I reckon teams consider that kind of thought process. I mean, Hinkley would be a good addition in his own right. And I would be happy to get Hinkley as well as like a director of coaching, whatever it might be. But that's interesting. On the coaching front, have heard some murmurs, unconfirmed, but have heard some murmurs that Jake Batchelor might be promoted from within to be in the defensive area of our coaching staff. Not confirmed, just some murmurs, but keep an eye out for that if that happens, which I wouldn't be against. I think Batchelor's done a really good job at the club this year in his first season at VFL level. But yeah, that just a little bit of rumblings around that space. So we'll see what happens there. Carlton need players, otherwise Voss is dropped. I mean, yeah, they're in. If Curnow leaves, they've obviously lost to Koning, Silvani. Yeah, they could be in a little bit of pain next year, which not the worst. I know, Stephen. I know. It would be. I mean, look, I know they've had their banter and stuff. I guess at the end of the day, all that shit's white line fever, right? I think if Hinkley was to walk into Hawthorn tomorrow, it's laughs and smiles. Him and Giddeman have a hug and handshake it out. And I think I think they had spoken and have a bit of respect for each other, as per the last aeroplane incident when Hinkley laughed it off. I think it'd be fine. It's all just in the heat of the moment in games. People just say and do stupid shit they shouldn't probably do sometimes. But if Hinkley walked into Hawthorn tomorrow, I think it would be all okay. I don't think there'd be any issues whatsoever. Any free agents that you think we should be looking at next year? Yeah, it does seem like next year is all about the free agents. Let's see if Google will give me a list. 2026 AFL free agents. AFL players off contract in 2026. So this doesn't tell me anything about the it doesn't tell me anything about the free agency side of things. Oh, will that though? No, that doesn't. So from Adelaide, I'll just read out the clubs and the players in there. Adelaide, this is out of contract. This isn't necessarily a free agent. This is just purely players out of contract, according to Zero Hangout for 2026. Adelaide, Sam Berry, Hugh Bond, James Borlass, Jordan Butts, Braden Cook, Indy Cotton, Billy Dowling, Charlie Edwards, Mitch Hind, Chase Jones, Rory Laird, Max Michelini, Luke Pedler, Oscar Ryan, Lockie Scholes, Zach Taylor, Tyler Welsh. Not sure if we'd be chasing anyone too hard from that list. From Brisbane, Noah Answorth, Will Ashcroft, Zach Bailey, Shadu Bryan, Darcy Gardner, Ryan Lester, Luke Lloyd, Oscar McInerney, Will McLaughlin, Lockie Neal, Bruce Revel, Brandon Ryan, Henry Smith, Reece Torrent, Zane Zacastelli, Dane Zorko. From that list, the number, I would highly just assume that Will Ashcroft won't be going anywhere because he's not going to be a free agent. But number one on that list from Brisbane, for me, would be Zach Bailey. I think, is it Essendon that were linked to him from memory? But I would be having a crack there if he was a free agent. Carlton, Jackson Binge, Jordan Boyd, Ben Campriali. Maybe I should share screen so you can see it too. That'd make a bit of sense. Here we go. Wish I'd have thought of that half a second sooner. Bear with me. Share screen so you can all read the list with me. There we go. So Carlton, Jackson Binge, Jordan Boyd, Campriali, both of them, Durden, Fogarty, Hines, Hollins, Cooper Law, Nick Newman. I don't know whether there'd be anyone from that list I'd be jumping over hurdles for. Collingwood, Alan, Cochrane, Crisp, Hayes, Membry, Pendlebury, Ryan, Smir. Again, not anyone. Oh, Crisp, maybe not. Essendon, Blackiston, Clark, Cox, Wicks, Edwards, Al Hawali, Jay Gresham, Guelphy, Hayes, Johnson. Again, no one there that I would jump over hoops for to go free agency. Fremantle, Banfield, Will Brodie, he's getting traded this year anyways. Johnson, McDonald, Murphy, Nichols, O'Driscoll, Jaeger, Riddle, Sturt, Switkowski. Switkowski wouldn't be too bad to have a look at. Again, not sure there's any other names there I'd jump over hoops for. Blitzer, Bowes, Clark, Danger, Humphreys, Collar Jasny, Manor, Martin, Grind Myers, Mark O'Connor, Jay Polkinghorn. Even from the Cats, I'm not sure we'd go after anyone there. Cooper Bell, Sam Closey, Alex Davis, Graham, Ben King, Ben Long, John Noble, Rogers, Hewland, Walter, Lockie Weller, Witts. There's probably a couple there you'd have an ask a question about, wouldn't there? Ben King will get asked about. I've got no question, not just from us, but from everybody. Ben Long would be another one that I wouldn't mind asking about. I'm not sure how old he is, to be honest. He'd be another one. Walter be another one. But, yeah, whether any of them are attainable. From the Giants, Toby Green, Jesse Hogan, Nick Madden. Nick Madden might get a look in. Riccardi, Stringer, Harvey Thomas, Hawks, Gunston, Hustwaite, Impey, Mitchell Lewis, Connor McDonald. So McDonald and McKenzie will probably get questions, I think, this year and next year from clubs. Okay, Dylan Moore you would ask the question about Dylan Moore. Harry Morrison, you'd ask the question about too. And some of their ruckman, Ned Reeves, Max Rams, and even Josh Weddle. So the Hawks probably got a few there you would ask some questions about, I think, if some of them end up being free agent worthy. The D's, Bailey Fritsch, Stephen May's gone. Melksham, probably no one there that you would worry about. North Melbourne, probably no one there you'd worry about. Tom Powell. Wardlaw would be interesting. Port Adelaide. So Zach Butters is probably the one so far. I guess it's the A+ areas. Darcy Burns-Jones. We can get the All-Australian in Darcy Burns-Jones. Ollie Wines, Jordan Sweet. Yeah, interesting. Richmond, we've got a shitload of people out of contract. St Kilda, Caminiti, Dodson, Dow. Not many there you'd go, yep, have to take. James Jordan. Yeah, Ruben, get Ruben Jinby in. Jesus. Bulldogs, busting across. Joel Frazier. Garner, Harms, Arthur Jones. Liberatore, Sanders. Okay, interesting. Jamal Hagen, Riley West. There you go. So they are the players that are out of contract for next year. Does feel like Butters is probably the one that you're going to go the hardest at from that list. There'd be a couple. Definitely like your Harry Morrison, Dylan Moore type players, Zach Bailey. So there could be a few that you'd have a crack at. Greg, yep, I have heard that as well, that we will have spoken to Luke Bruce. Not sure, how that progressed or where that all sits, but I did hear that was something that may happen. What would it take for us to give up a future first? I don't think we're in a position to be totally honest. If you sort of think about 2026, we've got Tanner Armstrong, NGA, and the unknown is what the AFL is going to do with the lockout. Like if they lock out the top 5 picks as a compromise, then you probably want your first round pick because you're a chance at Cody Walker, Dougie Cochran, players like that. So you'd want a bit of currency there. And then we've still got Archie Daffy and Jack Leese coming through as well. So I feel like next year we probably need that currency. 2027 first rounder, you'd probably be okay coughing up if it helps sweeten a deal somewhere and you got something extra next year or this year. But yeah, I don't know. Next year, it's a tricky one for next year, isn't it? Very tricky one. Roby, Grills, Xavier Taylor. I think we're going to do both next year, Stephen, for the reasons I just mentioned. Like, we're already, there's already a handful of players that are linked to us via father-son NGA, and depending on what the AFL do as well, that we will get a good little suite of players next year. And I think we're going to start targeting free agents to bolster up certain areas too. I think that's when the fun and games start to begin from a free agency perspective. Worth trading a future first to expand this draft? I don't know, Matt. I think they'll, maybe. Like I said, I reckon we've got so many options at our disposal. Whether it's teams wanting to trade up or to help broker other deals, I think we'll find a way to weasel ourselves into some spots that we can benefit from. It's like, even though we had a heap of picks last year, it felt like last year was a little bit more predictable than what this year is. There just feels like a lot of uncertainty for a lot of clubs at the moment. Tuesday night, Tiggs is on Tuesday night, but as and I talked to him during the week about it, but like as Uze said, that it's not really likely we'll do anything this year. And I spoke to Tiggs about it, and he said he's right to a point. And I guess it's just a caveat that if something comes up to help broker a deal or do something, he said he'll explain more on Tuesday. But I mean, that doesn't mean that we don't stop asking questions of players. And there might be players that we still link to, ask questions about with their management team and things like that. Because if the right deal ever comes up, I think you never say never, do you? Roby's a trap. His foot skills are terrible. Oh, I don't know about that. I'll tell you what, Captain Koch, did you watch his game at Casey Fields the other week? He hit Ollie Greaves with 2 laser 45-meter passes, and Casey Fields is a wind tunnel. I think his foot skills aren't as bad as what you might be making it out to be. And his football IQ, he runs to the right position more often than not and gets in the right space to get the next kick from his teammates. I think you're selling a bit short there, to be honest. Respect the view, and you're absolutely entitled to it. I just can't agree based on what I saw, especially of his game at Casey Fields Live, being able to see his running patterns and where he was going to ahead of play. I thought he read it quite well, to be honest. I really like Patrick Voss. I just think that he will be in debt to Fremantle. Because Essendon delisted him, didn't they? I think that he will be all in at Freo. I'd be absolutely having a crack at Butters and Bailey. Yep. I know this is an absolute pipe dream, but imagine you're able to get in Butters and Bailey. They would be two super additions to our side. If you could, the thing is, right, money-wise, we can do that. No mistake about it. We can absolutely get Butters and Bailey in next year financially if they were open to moving. Would not be a problem at all. And I hope it'd be great to go after a couple of players like that. It'd be really good. Widescreen, you want an extra pick in next year's draft? Yeah, we could need some. Could need something. So early indications were Tanner Armstrong was kind of in that 10 to 20 range. And he had a really strong year as an underager for Murray Bush Rangers. He was really good. He was pretty much one of their main midfielders all year. And that's a really big thing to do as an underager. So that's going to hold him in good stead for next year. Probably just want to see him get a bit more dangerous with the ball. He's good at finding the football, getting good release handballs. I just want to see him be a bit more damaging on the outside to really elevate himself next year. So that would be one of the things I'm probably looking out for him. But it was a really good year from him. It really was. Our list needs positionally. Well, it depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about drafting, I think you still got to get some midfielders that can play multiple positions, where they can play wing, they can play half forward, they can play midfielder. So you want to get a multi-purpose player. If you're talking about positionally in everything, whether it's trade, free agency, whatever, I still think we probably need a genuine specialist wingman or a good half-back as well to take over from Short. I think our wing area is a little bit weak at the moment. We're relying on a few youngsters that may or may not evolve into that role as we would hope. But if you could somehow unleash, a good player onto a wing as a connector between the two parts of the ground, that would be handy. And then at some point, we will need another ruckman, which I think we all know. I think we're just waiting to pull that trigger whenever it may be. So we'll have to just sit tight and see what we do there. What does everyone else think our list needs are positionally? Noah definitely want two of Grill, Cumming, Lindsay, and Roby. What's the one player in the draft we have to get? I don't know. I don't know. And this is the thing, right? There's not in this draft, there's not that generational talent like what you saw with Harley Reid or Sam Lawler, even Finn O'Sullivan. There's not that player. I mean, some people will argue Duff Tytler. I don't subscribe to it personally, but I don't know. I mean, the one you'd like to get is maybe Dersman, but it doesn't look like we will. A lot of people will say Roby, but I don't know whether he's warranting that type of talk just yet. I really don't know. For me, it feels like such an even draft. And this is why I think teams are going to be a bit more open to splitting picks than maybe what they usually would be. Who do we have to get? What does everyone else think? What in this draft, who's the one player we have to get? Who was a non-negotiable? Butters and Bailey would be the beautiful cream on the most delicious cake. They definitely would be. Getting two players like that in would propel us forward and fast-track things substantially in 2027. Because you got to remember, that would then be the 2024 draft crop. That would then be their third preseason, second full preseason. You'd have the draftees from this year would have a full preseason and season under their belts. Players like your Seth Campbell, Mansell, Morris Jr., Banks. Who else is there? Kane McAuliffe, Ross, things like that. They'll all be starting to get into that 100 games to 120, 130 game territory for some of them, which I think is a really good a good sweet spot and one that we don't have filled currently. The only question mark once end of next year rolls around is who are we losing? Like Nathan Broad has already said next year's his last year, so we can rule him out unless something really drastic changes. Dion Prestia would be another one that it may be his last year. I mean, statistically, it would suggest that's the way, but you don't know. Tom Lynch would be another one. As I've said all along, though, we just can't afford to lose all of those guys at once. If we can somehow space it out, Nick Vlauston, he'll be ending up soon as well. We need to get another, 3 or 4 years out of Nick Vlauston, I think, to smooth things over. But if you can space out the Broad, Prestia, Lynch, Vlauston retirements and let the other guys build up and take over, hopefully it appears a bit more seamless. Because if they all go at the same time, there is a real chance we could have a secondary dip in form and ladder position and everything like that, which I know won't go down very well. But if that's how the cards fall, there's a really live chance that might happen. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind. Greg, I don't think Roby will get through Essendon's 3 picks, to be honest. But I mean, to your point, if we don't, then yeah, Melbourne have definitely been keen. I just think Essendon are most likely to take him if we don't, because they're going to have the extra pick. End of 2016, we took a third-year ruck from Sydney of Nankervis. End of 2026, we take a third-year ruck from the Swans. William Green. Just repeat the cycle, you reckon? How tall is William Green, Damie? What have you got on him, stat-wise? What does he look like? Seba, you're non-negotiable. Sam Grill. Yeah, Frosher, it's... A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people are equally smashing people who are saying that. It's a really bizarre cycle. Lindsay's definitely one of the best kicks in the draft. Just not sure about his work defensively, and if you take a pick on him that high, I don't know. It's such a confusing one to wrap your head around. Definitely need some speed. Hope Roby doesn't end up Justin Platt 2.0. We've had a lot of players that we've hyped up over the years, Paul, to be fair, haven't we? Jaden Post, David Gordis, Liam McBean, old famous Liam McBean. Who else did we add? Troy Taylor. I won't say Rolton Roberts or Ben Nason. We never really hyped them up. Richard Tambling probably fits the bill there. Who else have we had? Reece McKenzie. We hyped up as well. Reece McKenzie. There's been Ben Lennon. That's a good shout. Ben Lennon, Corey Ellis, old Silk. Jeez, he got crucified, didn't he? Corey Ellis, my goodness. So there's a few players that, and all clubs do it, I guess, but it feels like we've been on the rough end of the stick more than other teams, doesn't it? If we finish bottom 3 or look like it during the season, would you let Miller go if he triggered a band 1 compo? Or like Elmore for West Coast? I'm probably leaning towards no. I just think he had a super year, and even like a year and a half, right? I think he's the future for our defense. The only reason why I say no as well, and it probably depends on how Gibcus goes too. So we've got to factor that in, I guess. We lose Tyler Young. Can Campbell Gray play that role as well? Like, there's so many unknowns to that would answer that question. But my initial feel is no, because I think he's too important. Like, I thought last year he was undoubtedly the most important part of our backline. I know Bolter had a really often shit year because of the shit he did. And next year is going to be interesting. He needs to step up and have a really, really good year for us. And if he does, Bolter and Miller as a combo with Gibcus and Trainer, Broad, Vlauston, Banks, Brown, I think that's a good little combo. So I'd be more inclined to hold on to him, I think. That's interesting. Yeah, that's been a little bit of the criticism, Lockie, hasn't it? And you don't want that type, do you? Well, that's a good question. Do we think Nat Nank captains again next season, or will it get passed on? I mean, I thought he was going to pass it on this year, but I'm glad I was wrong, and I'm glad he didn't. I thought it was really, really good for him this year and good for us. I mean, if he was to hand it over, it feels like there's only really Tim Taranto as the option to hand it over to, just in that age bracket, ready to do it, unless you're going to go full Trent Cotchin style and give it to a youngster who isn't ready, but you're prepared to bet on him for the long term, which I don't think we're going to do. So I feel like Nank will hold it this year, maybe even next year as well, unless they would rather give it to Taranto, would be the only caveat. I just don't see who else would be in a position to do it outside of Taranto. Just given the age profile of our list, there's just no one else that makes sense. Like I said, unless they went real young. Like if you went to Taranto, you could then squeeze out another 4 or 5 years, and by which time someone like a Lawler, Smiley, if that draft class, could be ready to take over. So that's how I think it might play out. Yeah, the Cats have done it well, haven't they, Frank? Pains me to say it, but they draft really smartly and really well. They'll get rid of someone and they'll bring in someone who's just as good, if not better, but even if it's by a small amount, but they just get that incremental improvement in every player they bring in, and it just adds and adds and adds. And as much as I know that we all don't like how good they play all the time, you can't not help but respect them. Right, they've done so well, honestly, they have. Justin, how are you, mate? That's the prelim. Yeah, I agree, Lockie. I think Miller's a very vital part of the spine. Last time we had pick 3, we got Dusty. Surely we cook. Fair call. Fair call. Taranto for captain. Lawler for captain. Is pick 4 too high for Dollison, given we take a speedy mid at pick 3? I think he is, but I could be wrong too. See, Dobson for me would be one that I think you could get easily if you split a pick. If we used pick 3 on a midfielder and split pick 4 and ended up with, let's say, 10 and 13, whatever it might be, I would think that Dobson would still be there somewhere around those picks. I don't reckon you need to take him as high. And like, how is he going to go competing against the smalls we've got? I'm not at all saying the smalls we've got are all A graders, but they're kind of trajecting okay. Like you look at Seth Campbell, had a really good year. Mansell a bit hot and cold, but when he's on, he's good. I still think that Mansell could get redeployed as a small defender. Steely Green, a bit hit and miss at the moment. Morris Jr. So look, maybe he could get a spot. Maybe he could. Maybe he could. Banks captain. I don't think we'll lose him to Tassie anyway. I'm pretty sure he's already said that he doesn't have any desire. I know it's easy for him to say that, but not to play full-time in Tas, but obviously acknowledging as well that I think the contract runs out at around that point in time, so it can be flirting with danger, I suppose. But yeah, I don't think we'll lose him. I think we'll lose him. You could put prime Jack Rewell on our forward line this year, and I don't think it would have mattered, unfortunately. That's definitely the one part of our game that we have to improve, isn't it? And we've said it before, even if we only improve that part of the game by 10 or 15%, we will score substantially a lot more amount of goals and be in a lot more games. And I showed on a couple of those analysis videos the amount of times that we would have a fast counter attack and then there's no options upfield, or when there are options, we pick the wrong one. And that was our experienced guys doing that too. So they really do need to get to work with our midfielders and running halfbacks, whoever it is, have got to get on the same page as the forwards. And I definitely accept and understand that we had a young forward line for a lot of the time, and that's going to be the same thing again next year. But we just have to see a bit of improvement, a bit more cohesion to the forward line, because it just gets frustrating, doesn't it? Like, imagine being a defender, busting your ass to stop a goal, get it out of the back line, get it up the ground, and then it just comes straight back over your head. Like, it must be infuriating. So we've got to work on that. To me, that's the number one thing. Number one thing we need to fix. It's time to release Seth Campbell into the midfield. I'm with you, Frank. I'm with you. Well, yeah, Seth Campbell and Tash Houghton, when they did have midfield minutes last or this season just gone, they were more often than not getting their hands on the ball first or preventing the player who was getting the ball from getting out with it. So I think the more we see their numbers progress, I think we will see them thrive in that environment. So I'm absolutely all for Seth Campbell playing in the midfield. And that's the biggest bugbear, Justin. I agree. Like, you watched the Hawks game the other night, even other games during the year, Jack Gunston in particular, the amount of work rate he has running, leading, changing directions, keeping on the move, then leading up at the kicker. I've said it before, but Jack Gunston plays how I want Tom Lynch to play. And I know there's a size and height difference. Height, not so much, but I know Lynch is a lot bigger than him. But Gunston just shows how valuable it is to be on the move and leading up at the kicker so you can get easy. He's getting easy uncontested chest marks inside 50, leading to shots on goal. That's what we need happening. And if it's not Lynch, it needs to be Armstrong. It needs to be Fall. It needs to be Sims. It needs to be someone. We cannot persevere with just staying there with our arm up saying, kick it here, because we will get shit on by opposition defenses far too often. It just can't be the way forward. And if that's an actual go-to game plan, we are in a world of hurt. I don't think it is, and it better not be. But the value has been shown in leading up to the ball carrier, unquestionably. Didn't hear much of, Noor had a really good year. He had a really good year. It's just really unfortunate that we're probably not the best suited team for him at an AFL perspective because of the depth we've got in that area. Maybe losing Blight and losing Young, if he goes, does that maybe open up a chance for him? Possibly. I think though if he has another good year next year like that, I've got a feeling he's already on teams' radars to get in because he looks really good down there at VFL level. Very good. Yeah, well, fair call, Stephen, that Banks played okay in the wing and then lit it up on half back. I think maybe it's just better being behind the ball. Maybe players feel more comfortable with the play coming at them rather than having to make all the play. He definitely did excel at half back. And the wing, look, love him or hate him, Camden McIntosh has been our best wingman for quite some time. And we need someone to fill that void desperately. And I think Hugo Ralsmith will get a crack early on next year, undoubtedly. Luke Traynor, I didn't mind him playing on the wing, but Uze straight out said that he sees him as a defender. So I obviously would then assume that he'll play in defence. Trezaius could play a spot on a wing as well. But yeah, I don't know. Do you go taller? Do you look at someone like a Smiley to have a crack? Johnny Clark when he's back? I think we've got a bit of investigating and work to do in that space to work out what works the best for Richmond. Mansell could tag. He could tag. And that's why I sort of see him as a small defender again. Not the tag, but if you look at like the Bobby Hills, the Jamie Elliott's, even Shai Bolton when he's up there for Fremantle, the small force from other teams generally hurt us because Vlosten and Broad aren't as quick as they once were, and Shorty. So I can see a few different roles for Mansell next year because someone like Jasper Elgar might be pushing his way into the forward line as well. But then it's like, well, who makes way in the back line for Mansell to do that? Which I don't know. But I can see him being used in some other spots. Yeah, fair call on the Tassie stuff. I'm not too concerned about the Tassie stuff either. I mean, maybe I won't be concerned until it's time to get concerned if things start not going our way contract-wise, I suppose. But no, hopefully we'll be okay. Frosher, so I asked Tuesday this in the press conference, and the answer, he gave a pretty reasonable answer, to be honest. So basically, if we were to tag Sheasel, it would have been at the expense of giving midfield minutes to Tash Houghton or Seth Campbell. So we either tag a player or we give minutes to the youngsters. We can't do both at the same time. And he chose to give the midfield minutes to the youngsters and give them the exposure and go head-to-head. and he did the same thing against Geelong as well. So when he sort of put it that way, I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough. You can't always have your cake and eat it too. But I mean, not great when you see Shizzle running around getting 50 touches, whatever it was. But that was just the path they wanted to go down. They wanted to give the exposure to the youngsters because they thought that would be more beneficial long term. And yeah, maybe does it cost you the game? Possibly, but they have to get paid to make those calls, and they've got to live with those ones. And we may see that more and more next year. It's hard because, like, on the flip side, I think we all probably saw that when we tagged effectively, like when Camden did it or when Jack Ross did it, that they were able to shut down the other team's best players, which maybe does keep us in games longer. But then we all will then go and complain that other players didn't get CBAs or midfield minutes, and that was why. So it's like, which one do we value more? I don't know. In a perfect world, we can do both, but it doesn't seem likely. If we see the same stagnation in our forward 50 next season, I think questions have to be seriously asked of the forwards coach. Yeah, it needs to change. I mean, that's just the short of it, isn't it? Look, Jonty and Harry Armstrong seem to move around quite well, but I just think teams are too good at setting up now for just a long kick inside 50. Even if for those who watched the game tonight, Harris Andrews, I don't know how many intercept marks he took, but it would have been quite substantial. And then even in Collingwood's first final against Adelaide, Darcy Moore did the same thing. So AFL clubs, they all have a really experienced backline or key defenders, so they're smart. They set up accordingly, and we just keep playing into their hands by kicking it down the line because they have a spare back all the time. So we have to get better at lowering our eyes, kicking the ball shorter, changing the angles, switching it across the other side of the ground, shifting zones, shifting defenses, all those things that other teams do, we need to start doing. In one of the last games I was at for the season for us, it was just really evident. It was at the Geelong game. It was really evident how often we don't try and switch play. Like if we mark the ball or have the ball just outside our defensive 50, 9.5 times out of 10, the opposition zone starts about 5 or 10 meters in front of that. So in the center square. I'm like, so we keep kicking down the line. Why aren't we kicking to someone else in the back three across the 50 and getting it out the other side? Every other team does it to us. And that's why teams found it so easy to get through our zone at times, because we were shifting so frequently and we aren't experienced enough to hold the shape whilst moving that teams could then open us up. The 1 or 2 times we did do it against Geelong, we pierced their zone. We switched it, got through the middle, got a shot on goal. So when we do it, it works. We just need to do it more often. And things like that will be the things I'm looking out for next year. They're the improvements we need to see from a game plan perspective. It needs to happen more often. Why does Geelong tag? Geelong probably tag because they've got a deep midfield and they can afford to do it. Not every team has that luxury, I guess, but if you do, then why not? Why not do it? Maybe it's coming back into vogue. Maybe we'll see more taggers. Oh, they get 13 marks. Fuck, he was everywhere. Harris Andrews, he was absolutely everywhere. So, Mark, which do you look at starting out of the key 5 forwards we have? Lynch, Lafau, Fawcett, Fall, and Armstrong. Lynch has to. Well, he doesn't have to, but I think he will. See, this is where I get really torn because the getting games into kids part of me says play Lynch, Fall, and Armstrong. But I also know that during the year, it stood out like dog's balls that when we played Lynch, Fall, Armstrong or Lynch, Fall, Sims, that the 2 inexperienced guys just got worked over by the defenders and weren't able to have a sustained impact on the game. Now, that might look different for next year with a full preseason under them, so we have to see what that looks like. If they aren't able to compete, you would have to go Lynch, Lafau, and then one of Fall, Armstrong, or Lynch, Gibcus / Bolter, one of Fall, Armstrong or Sims. Like, I think you've got to be careful about the balance. You need to have experienced and mature bodies down forward. And that's why I liked the foul down there. That's why I liked Bolter down there, because they were smashing packs all game and bringing the ball to ground. Because what was happening when it was Lynch fall Armstrong or Lynch fall Sims, because of the way we play, we effectively eliminated our own small forwards, because we would keep kicking it long and high and opposition defenders would take the mark and we would hardly ever bring it to ground. So our small forwards and half forwards weren't able to get into games. They'd go cold, they'd go missing, and we eliminate our own ability to try and score. Whereas when Bolter and Lefau play and we're down there, and even Jacob Blight to a lesser extent, they were able to smash packs consistently, bring the ball to ground, and it brings our smalls into play. So whoever can do that on a more consistent basis plays. But it comes down to our game style, and we've got to fix it. Harry Armstrong's a lead up forward and showed a bit. He did. I really liked Harry Armstrong. It's a shame he didn't get to play more often to kick a few more goals. And even Jonty Fall, I really loved his season as well. For him, though, it was all about the conversion. He needs to work on that side of things, which he would know. And hopefully, next year maybe he kicks 25 goals. Is that a stretch? Maybe, I don't know. But he gets near it enough that he could be a chance, and he can kick it from so far away. Like, he is a ginormous kicker of the football, Jonty Fall. So I'm excited to see where he goes. Yeah, and this goes back to EJ's point that you would have heard him talk about a lot. It's the quick across the forward arc to change the angles. A lot of it for us, we make decisions too late. Like, if we want to switch the play, bang, just do it. Instinctively do it, because that way you're probably going to catch the other team off guard. If you take your time with it, you end up telegraphing what you're going to do, and other teams set up, or they sit off you a little bit to suck you in, then they cut the kick off. I think we have to be a bit more instinctive in how we play with changing angles and doing things like that. It's a confidence thing, it's an experience thing, and it's a coaching, like giving them the license to know, hey, if you get it instinctively, there should be someone here and here, look and go for it and just do it. And that's why we were so good in our good years not long ago, because all the players knew where each other were going to be and could instantaneously move the ball in whatever direction they wanted with full faith that someone will be somewhere near that ball, which was good. Yeah, Fawcett's an interesting one. Again, I've said this a few times. I respect fully that he backs himself to break into this team. It's going to be hard. He's got the tools. Whether he can piece it together consistently will be the big question, but I love his hustle, and I respect that he's going to have a crack at it, and I hope he makes it. I truly do. The game he played when Lynch was out, he didn't do much wrong. It's just that very unlucky that it was Lynch coming back in. So hopefully he gets a good crack at it in 2026. You're entitled to your opinion, Paul, but yeah, I disagree. You got to keep like balance in there as well. I'm okay with one of Taranto Hopper not being in there. I don't think we could, even now for the next 2 years, I don't think we can cope with both of them not being in there. I think we need to have one of them in there at all times. And whether that's a Taranto Hopper Houghton, my preference would be like a Taranto Lawler Houghton. That would be lovely by the end of the year if we see that, or Taranto Smiley or Taranto McCall, whoever it might be. But you can't not have both of them in there at the same time. We're not at that stage yet. So that doesn't fly, I don't think, yet. We're too inexperienced, and you got to protect these kids as well a little bit too. And it was what it was. So he doesn't want to tag. But they have to know as coaching staff and as a club that if you don't tag and the other team gets 45, 50 possessions, then your supporters are going to be pretty pissed off. And you'd want to find another way to mitigate it some way or another. So that's kind of on them. I can understand why he didn't do it, but there's repercussions that come with that as well. Yeah, Sims, is that navicular injury is a pain in the ass, that is. It's one of the worst types of injuries to get from a persistence standpoint. And you're right, we may not see him until round one, depending on how it recovers. I don't think there's been an update. They may not even give us an update until they sort of return back in November. But yeah, not a good injury to get for the big man. Which little guys? Seth Campbell, definitely. But again, I kind of have high hopes that Seth Campbell will push up the ground more. I think Morris Jr., again, similar though. I want him to push up the ground more. Jasper Elgar to be a permanent forward, who's another marking option too. Like he plays a bit taller. Look, Steely Green had a really good run in VFL at the end of the year and showed some good goal sense and some good attacking prowess. If he can do that at AFL level, that'd be good. But maybe we are a bit light on there. Mansell would be another one, but again, I do see a world in which he is used in another role. But maybe we can't afford to do it. But then you're also going to have players like Lawler, Houghton, Smiley. They'll be resting in and around the forward line as well. Hopefully one off Taranto or Hopper resting in the forward line as well at various stages. So there'll be a bit of a blend and mix of players going through there. It's just trying to get the balance right, I suppose. I think they're the three as well, widescreen. From what we know, I reckon it's just, Clark, Sims and Vlossen that won't be right for preseason round one. So they said in one of the last fitness reports or injury reports that Lawler's surgery all went well and he'll be ready to go for preseason. Smiley's already training, so he's out there doing some work. I don't think there's anyone else. I think that is it. Yeah, Lawler and Houghton will be good playing together. I'd agree. No, that'll be very nice to watch. Jonty plays more like a backman. He's just a rugged bloke, isn't he? Like, once he gets a bit more size on him too, he's going to hurt people. Just with his running and jumping at the ball, it's going to be fun to watch when him, Harry Armstrong, and Sims, if he's the other one down there, or Fawcett. I mean, Fawcett crashes packs too, right? So I'm equally as okay if Fawcett's playing at some point during the year. And then you got Lafau. Like we've got so many players to try and fit in that you don't want to go too top heavy. You don't want to go too inexperienced. It's a really tricky balancing act. Yeah, it's like if you had a full squad available, uninjured, despite the fact we finished second last, it's actually a really hard 22 to pick. Yeah, it's tricky. Roby reminds you of the Bont, Tony. He's sort of creeping up there in the same size, isn't he? I mean, you'd love to get a Bont type player in. I suppose at the same time, though, that we're probably hoping that Josh Smiley can be that type of player as well. Obviously, there's a little bit to play out in that space, but I'm super wrapped for Smiley that he's out there training at the moment. I know he might not be wrapped, but he probably is, to be fair. But for me, it just shows how professional he is and how determined he is to get himself right and ready to go for preseason and obviously in the lead into round one. It definitely sounded like, reading between the lines, he had to redefine his body a bit, maybe drop a couple of kilos to not put as much load through his legs. So I think we're going to see a bit of a slimline version of Smiley come pre-season, which will hopefully be a bit more dominant, because you've got to remember that during the early parts of pre-season, he was the talk of the town, really, in terms of the players that we had drafted. And the club is super excited to see what he can do. It's just getting him on the park. And, he's a bit of we talk about unicorns and some drafts. In a lot of ways, a player of his size and his position is a unicorn. So it's a bit of a learning curve for him, a learning curve for us. And hopefully we see the best of Smiley, or just a lot of Smiley in 2026. Rising star, get around him. If you watch Lafau in the elimination final against Brisbane, he showed that he can also pinch hit in the middle. Yeah, exactly. I found that truly fascinating. And actually, it wasn't the Brisbane game I noticed it in. It was actually one a couple of weeks prior where he was up around the contest as a midfielder. Yeah, winning clearances and exiting stoppages, smashing through packs. I thought that was a really interesting and different way to use him. I don't know how that would translate at AFL level. I'd be keen to see what it looked like, to be honest, as a big brute in there. He's just not afraid to smash through. But again, you've got to do that with the right balance and how it works. But it was interesting to see him do that at VFL level. And I guess it's just a different way to try and structure up and look at things. It was, I didn't mind it. Is that right? I wouldn't have known that either about him being one of the fastest players. That's interesting. I think Jasper's got good footy IQ as well. I really like him. I'm really hoping he's pushing his case for round one. He's just he's a different type of forward to what we have currently. even though he's small, he plays a bit taller, which I think is a good thing. Report about Smiley training the club. It was good. It was good. Like, I've got no doubt 98% of them have gone away already, but because my worry was with this whole Smiley saga, my worry was that we were going to do all of this conditioning stuff that we were told about, and then the season's going to end, and then everyone's going to go away for 100 days, and we're going to lose the progress we made with Smiley and be back at square one or not where we need to be for the start of pre-season. And maybe that's the type of conversation that have been had, and maybe that's exactly why he's there now, to make sure we keep momentum going. I don't know the ins and outs of what's happened there, but it just feels like that's maybe what's happened. I think it's a good call from him, especially, to keep that momentum going, to keep nailing that programming and ticking all the boxes and getting himself primed for pre-season. So, look, I know he's a young kid, and they would have loved to have gotten away. It would have been a hard season mentally for him with not being able to play, but yeah, hopefully this is all going to be worth it. You got to think about the long-term career side of things. So hopefully it's worthwhile in the long run. So you'd love to see him light up the G round one against the Blues. Where would you start him? And I ask this question a lot, but I still think people get confused on what I'm asking. Where is Smiley's best second position? So we know long-term we want him to be a midfielder, and we know that he will play some midfield minutes next year. What we don't know, we highly assume. When he's not playing midfield, though, where will he play? Like Sam Lawler, he rests forward. Seth Campbell will rest forward as well. Where does Smiley rest? Does he go to probably halfback's not probably the right answer, but is it just bench midfield? Does he go forward as well? Could he play wing? Could he play halfback? Like, I just don't know what his position will look like in the team, largely because we don't know how much more athletic he's going to be after this new program sort of run its course. So I'm keen to hear what everyone thinks on Smiley with where you would play him. If you take the midfield part out of it, because we know that's where we want him to be, where else can he play, and would you see him playing? Oh, I can hear kids in the background. If we were to trade Hopper, it would be for a lot more than that, because he's still contracted. If we were to hypothetically trading Hopper or Taranto, we would be getting first rounders for them. Whether people think they're good players or not from a Richmond perspective is almost irrelevant, because they've still got 3 or 4 years left. You're not letting a player with 3 or 4 years left go for second and third rounders. It's as simple as that. I'd like to see Hopper as the bull, Prestia as their other experience, and use one of the nimble younger players. Yeah, I think so too. And I think your last line is the line that I've been kind of banging on about too, is that by resting Taranto or Hopper in the forward line, it actually adds some much needed experience to that part of the ground, which we're desperate for. So for me, I think it's a win on multiple levels. You get a young kid into the midfield for a stint. You get an experienced Taranto or Hopper up forward to help out that part of the ground. And they've got some goal kicking nous as well, which helps too. So I just think it's a win on multiple lines that we need to see more of next year. And we all know we're going to be keeping a close eye on it. We're keeping a very close eye on it. Sam Lawler quit football, going to world tour, supporting Jelly Roll. He's talented, isn't he? Playing in the guitar. I think Smiley's on the drums. Tom Brown on the guitar as well. Got a bit of a band happening there. If we're drafting for more points or points of difference, do you think we would avoid Roby? Possibly. I mean, he feels like he'll be a little bit similar to Smiley, and maybe in some ways similar to like a better skilled version of Hopper potentially as well. But Smiley's maybe a more closer comparison potentially. But yeah, if you're looking for more points of difference, I don't know. Some people might argue the other way. Some people might argue that Roby is a point of difference because he can play multiple positions. He could be a big wingman. But yeah, people might actually argue against that. That's a good question, though. Lafau plays round one. Big call. Don't mind it. At whose expense, though? At whose expense? Yeah. I would like to think that round one's a possibility. I mean, Lawler played round one, didn't play any VFL, but I get that Smiley's probably coming from a different angle. There's going to be practice games. There's going to be the match sims and all that kind of shit. I get what you mean, though. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would go round one personally if he's ready. But that's big stage. Get him out there, see what he can do. Heel Smiley at halfback. I've always toyed with that idea as well, to be honest. Is he good, Aaron? I think he's okay. And that's why he's going to be a huge marking target if he goes up forward. Again, it's just getting the balance right of what the forward line looks like, I suppose. There's a better field kick than Marg, you say half back. Yeah, some interesting ways to use him. Yeah, I reckon he will, Fred. I reckon he will. I mean, we probably all said that this year too, but I think, rightly or wrongly, I think now that they've worked out, hopefully, what the solution was with the training regime and getting him in the right shape for his body size and things like that, hopefully they've got it all sorted and he can hit the ground running because he will be good to get out there. Yeah, they love it. They love the band, don't they? It's good. Lockie, love it. Blue Bag's going to eat some hot and candy round one. Tigers play 82. I tell you what, if players keep walking out the door there, it could get interesting for Carlton. And Essendon. I mean, wouldn't you love to have Essendon's round one pick next year? They look like they could be in a world to hurt the Bombers. Crunchy potato, he could. Like we were saying before, that he's played some midfield, like stoppage work up the ground in the VFL. He could. I don't know what his running capacity would be like to run out a whole game, would be my only question. But he's a physical presence, aerial threat, hits people hard. It would maybe just be the defensive side of the game that I'm not totally sure on. But honestly, at this stage of our development, I think we need to be open to trying a few different things for the wing spots because I don't think we've got the answer just yet. I think we need to be a little bit creative and not be afraid to try players there. And I guess that's why people argue that should the draft year be older? Should the draft age push out? I don't know. It's a tough one. Yeah, well, they might have some more team harmony next year, potentially. I think history usually suggests that there's a bit of a teething issue in the first year with the new game plan. I mean, you look at Sydney with Cox taking over, they had a bit of a rough year. So, yeah, maybe they struggle a little bit next year, but who knows, he might get them humming straight away. Bottom four next year. Bottom four will be West, in no particular order. West Coast, Richmond, Essendon. It could be Carlton. The players they've lost, they're just so unstable at the moment, honestly. Who else could it be? I do think the Kangaroos will jump up. I thought they were a little bit unlucky this year not to, but it helped us out. But yeah, they're probably the ones in the most danger. Voss, check into a wellness retreat. Wouldn't it be nice, Lockie, if we touched them up again in round one? That would be unbelievable. Get Dougie Cocker on the wing. I don't mind it. Widescreen, I don't mind it. Don't mind it. All right, well, that is about a wrap for tonight because my voice is giving out. So Monday night, just while everyone's here, Monday night, Andrew Rains will be joining me on the show from about 8:30. So we're going to have a bit of a Q&A with Andrew Rains. So I'm going to put out a tweet about that or a video. So if you do start thinking of some questions that you wouldn't mind me asking Andrew Rains, and I'll put out some posts so you can reply to comments with your questions and we'll compile a bit of a list. So we'll get Rainsy on, and we might still continue the live for the rest of the Brownlow as well, potentially. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Andrew Rains, Monday night, 8:30. Tiggs is jumping on Tuesday night for another update and just some footy thoughts and trade stuff. And Wednesday night, we've got Pommy, Fiona, and Marnie on again for the grand final preview, which will be cool. So if you do like to listen to that, make sure you tune in for that show. It's a ripper, good banter. And then also in the works, I don't know whether people will like this or not, but I'm reaching out to quite a few different people who do drafting or mock drafts. I want to get as many people on as possible to get their mock draft because I feel like it's so even and there's so many variations, so many possibilities. It seems less clear-cut than last year. So I'm reaching out to a whole raft of people to get them on a different stages, to get them to present their mock draft. So you might see a few more live streams like that. And I don't want it to come across as being repetitive, but I just think that so many people have so many different takes on how the draft will work that it's interesting, because people will have different ideas that I haven't thought of, that we haven't thought of. So True Eagles, so Jesse from True Eagles coming on at some stage after the grand final, and we're going to chat a bit about as well what it might look like for both of our sides, given that they've got the first one or two and we've got the next two. And then, we're working through a few other options as well, trying to get a hold of Dill Alexander still. So if anyone, he's the hardest person to try and reach out to. I've tried so many avenues. So if anyone's on one of his lives, let him know to check his inboxes and to get back to him, because I want to do a draft one with him to pick his brain a bit on stuff as well. So, a bit more is coming in the draft space too. And what else is happening? I think that's all I can think of for the foreseeable future. But keep an eye for all of that type of content. YouTube videos will still be coming out as well. And we'll just keep plugging along as we are. So thank you again for the love and support. We're charging towards 4,000 subs on YouTube. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It's free to do. It helps out the channel massively. Make sure you hit like on all the videos and stuff to get the algorithm out there. The support's been huge. Like, the growth we've had since October last year has been massive, and there's plenty of things happening behind the scenes, which is cool, which we can sort of go into a bit later on. But it's been awesome to have all of you guys a part of it. Thank you, Justin, absolute legend, much appreciated with the $2.99. Justin, you're a superstar, buddy. Thank you so much. Now, much love to you all, and I'll speak to you during the week, and I'll see you all Monday night for Andrew Rains. Make sure you think of some questions. So until then, go Tigers.